But the first instance is the police. If the police in an emergency situation become overawed or overwhelmed, then the military can come in to support. Support. I'm talking about law enforcement support, not sporadic shooting, but to support the police in apprehension of lawbreakers.
You don't think that's what's happening here?
That's not what happened according to reports. One, I don't believe there was any emergency situation on the ground.
Do you think this is a dangerous situation?
It is absolutely dangerous, and I'll tell you why it is dangerous. Because one, when people now perceive that you are treating them disparately from other incidents, it provides an uncomfortable platform for recruitment and promotion of what you are trying to prevent. Now, the youth in the Southeast will say, okay, fine. Why send in the military when you didn't send the military to A, B, C, D, E, F, G that happened before? You are treating us this way because we are who we are, even though some of them may not even belong into that fold. Now, if you send the military in as you did, think about it. How about innocent victims who may get injured? And the military has not come up with even, to me, an explanation. They say, show of force. Show of what? Force. Show of force for what? Against what? Some people are saying, I hope they have a standing army, they have this and so on and so forth. But the first instance is of law enforcement, which constitutionally must be done by the police. If Nnamdi Kanu is violating his bail condition, like some people have said, I don't know what his bail conditions are, and I'm not conversant with that. But if that is what is happening, send the police in to arrest him, prosecute him, do whatever you have to do, but don't show of force. I mean, it would seem to others as just being out of place, overwhelming and oppressively, aggressive, and that may lead to further festering of violence. Violence,
what do you think is the way out of this? What is the way out?
The way out, again, one, serious law enforcement. Two, you try to isolate these folks by getting the community involved. The community leaders, the kings and queens around there, the religious leaders, the political leaders. We need to sit down and talk about this and find a way to do. Now, if you don't do that first, and you think there's something you are going to achieve by just showing force, the negative will occur. The opposite of what you expect will occur. And that happened. There was riots on the streets of Jos. It may grow beyond that. We don't want that. We don't want that in this nation. We don't want violence. But once you start shooting at people throwing stones, I mean, we see it in other parts of the world where you have, in a democracy, there will be dissidents. There will be disagreements. There will be disaffection. That's why they call it democracy. The first reaction is not to go attack. The first reaction is to approach it politically. Even the president said it, and I watch it on TV internationally, when he said, look, if there is disagreement of what's going on in the country, even if IPOB wants a Biafra, they can do it. They can form a referendum. We can approach it politically. That's coming from the federal government. And so what happened is actually an opposite of that.
Okay. We'll examine the actions of IPOB themselves when we return in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. So, looking at the actions of IPOB, you have a lot of people who also say, well, they're not exactly sure if that's the best way they could have tried to get their voices or their grievances out there. Do you think that they could have done it differently and still get heard?
Well, they should have done it differently, and they should do it differently. Like I said, we're in a democracy. There will be dissensions, there will be disagreement, and so on and so forth. We have to have a process where we go peacefully, where we request and ask for what we want peacefully in an orderly manner. I think it's just frustration. People are frustrated all over the place. Youths are frustrated all over the place. And, you send in the military and it just shows that we lack confidence in our law enforcement. And it will backfire. And the backfire is what we are seeing. Okay? More people will join it will create sympathy for IPOB. IPOB may be wrong. We don't have to be wrong as well, okay? And if IPOB step forward and if the leaders, if they commit an offense, let us prosecute them, let us arrest them. If it's committing treason, like some people are claiming, yes, law enforcement is there, the judiciary is there to take care of it. We have to go in those processes first. Folks who are, justifying this are not looking at the repercussion. People who will be killed, innocent victims who may be affected, and carnage that may be spread all over. Violence will lead to more violence. We need to address this in a more civil way.
Let me just put it very quickly before we let you go. Do you think that state institutions, say the National Assembly, for instance, has got a role to play in making sure that from the root cause of these agitations, it's been nipped before it becomes a situation that cannot be controlled?
The National Assembly has a big role to play. And so far, we haven't heard from them enough. Look, like we said, all these agitations are just signs that things are not working well for certain people. Certain people feel marginalized. Those must be addressed by law. We talk about restructuring and so on and so forth. I don't think it was right for the National Assembly to just throw that out. If that's what the people are asking for, address it. Let it be debated. Let us have a civil debate. Let's vote on it. Let's do something about it. But just don't throw it out as if it don't matter. It is part of that, the result that we are seeing now, because some people will feel that their issues are not being addressed. Their concerns are just are not being addressed, and so they feel marginalized, right. And they move on to some other.
We need to anchor at that point. Yeah. Mr. Muyiwa Sobo is a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
And for those who are wondering, why is the National Assembly, when you need them, they are on recess? So hopefully when they're back, they will attend to some of these matters. That's the show today, and what a week it's been. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week. I'm Chamberlain. So.
All right, we'll see you much later on State of the Nation. I'm Gimba Umar.
And of course, watch later on Hard Copy. Thank you. I'm Maokbe Ogun.